our appreciation to his partner. What's her name again?
Wendy.
Wendy. Who's tripping down the streets of the city, smiling at everybody she sees. Our
That was
appreciation
one of
to
the
his
banes
partner.
of her
You
existence back in the day. Wendy.
Wendy.
Yep.
I
All
love
right.
that song. It's one of my favorite songs.
All right. We have YouTube stream. And so let's make this official and say, welcome everyone to the MBTA Rider Oversight Committee meeting for the 24th of September 2024. That's two 24s in the date. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's good. Huh.
it was hard to write. I had to write it today when I was at the dentist's office. It's like 9:20. It just felt odd. I still have a problem being in the 21st century. When I'm writing 24, it's like really be one of those. So I think for both of us born in the latter part of the last centuries, the low numbers of the first century just kind of always makes me feel out of place.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways,
Uh,
now that's on YouTube recording.
that's okay. We can always trim it down if necessary. It's
Yes, kidding.
interesting that now that I started it, I don't see it on the YouTube channel page, but let me make sure. Yeah, yeah, it's there. All right, I'm going to stop dealing with the technology and just, as I already said, welcome to the Rider Oversight Committee meeting. I'm Stefan Wunsch, working in a remote office space, and I'm the co-chair of the MBTA Rock, along with Wig Zamor. Everyone like to introduce yourself? Wig, go first. Audio checks. Hi.
Yeah, I'm Wig Zamor, long-term Somerville resident.
Cool. Sounds good. And Craig, want to say hi? Just so you
Hi,
can
Craig
introduce.
Oskowski, public member.
Sounds good. And Len, you as well?
Yeah, Leonard Diggins, public member. We just had a very expensive tooth extracted, and the Novocaine's beginning to wear off. So we'll see how this goes. It's okay.
Okay. Well, I am remote, and so at any moment I might have a glitch. So I'm actually, now that we're underway, just for the safety sake of it, I'm actually going to promote you, Len. Let's see. Actually, I should make all of you three gents co-host like that and like that.
But if you really
And
think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, after you, you're gonna say what?
I was going to say, if you really think you're going to lose connectivity, though, you should make one of us host. Because as you know, you as host goes away and the meeting ends.
Uh, good point.
I mean,
Yes. So let's.
happy to just give it back to you. I mean, at whatever point
Oh,
it
you're right.
be. But
'Cause I can actually reclaim it anytime while I'm still here. So that's a good point. Thank
yeah,
you for reminding me. Okay,
I know you
Len,
reclaim
I'm gonna
host.
put that for you. And there we go. So we're now covered technologically. I'm gonna pull up the agenda just for making this formalized. I'm not going to do the whole usual share my whole screen to show all of us. So if anybody turns off their cameras, you'll kind of disappear. But just from where I am in a remote location, I don't think I want to do the whole thing I usually do. So
Yeah.
just for the sake of simplicity's sake, here we are. And pardon me. I'm back. I had another window start auto playing. So anyway, I want to check very quickly in Zoom to make sure that we don't have any guests in Zoom. I don't see any, and I will check very quickly for anyone who is putting comments into YouTube, seeing none, and I'm the only one who's watching. I think we can go on from the public comment to reviews of subcommittees. Sound good, gents?
Yes.
Okay. So momentarily, I will have the notes up that I took, which were pretty copious, and I will share them on my screen. If I'm not mistaken, that was September 10, correct?
Yep. 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
exactly right. Okay, here we are, and I'm going to make it visible for everyone. Now, said, he said visible for everyone. Now, there we go.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And is that a good size for visibility for folks?
That's better.
Okay. I can make it even larger if you want.
Sure. Thank you.
Sure thing. How's that?
That's fine.
Okay, cool.
That
So,
is better. Thank you.
all right, excellent. I haven't heard anything to follow up after that November 3rd power outage, but I haven't checked closely. Have any of you gents just heard anything recently from that about
No.
the power outage? Okay. That was um, yet another calling into question the reliability of the power systems, but hopefully we'll get a good answer on that.
Yeah.
Um,
There's
I
a,
don't.
I mean, there hasn't
Go
been
ahead.
there hasn't been a board of directors meeting since that outage. I mean, so maybe I think the next board of directors meeting is on Thursday. So maybe there'll be something about it then.
That's a great point. Yeah, we should look for that then. We should maybe even expect that. Um, there's so much content here. I don't know if we can or should go through everything. But you just want to just call out anything in particular? Actually, maybe that's more for you, Craig. Since I don't think yeah, you weren't able to join us for this subcommittee meeting. So is there anything, Craig, that jumps out at you that you'd like us to recap? And I'll give you a moment to take it all in, or I can summarize, whatever you'd like.
In the meantime, did I already mention that I had lost my Charlie card and went to the new store?
No,
I don't think you have. No.
Well,
I haven't.
yeah, I don't know what I got on at Leechmere and I got off. I'm just like in the very beginning of Highland Ave in Somerville, so very short bus ride from the Green Line at Cambridge Crossing, North Point, and somehow I lost my card. Uh, so I went to the new Charlie card store. It was terrific. I mean, it was I went early afternoon. There was, it wasn't crowded at all. It's very bright. It's right on Washington Street. You know, just walk right in. Glass front. Not too big a facility, but um, I was very pleased with it. Turned out nobody had found my card or used any value, so they just issued me a new real card with the value I had when I lost it, and that was it.
And I assume that
Yeah,
means
I've walked by that for the first time, and I had forgotten it was going to move.
Yeah, me too. I went to the old one, Craig. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the only thing that would be interested to me would be, um, I'd be curious what they're paying for the square footage there, right? It's in a way I'm glad it's there because there used to be it's on a stretch of the Freedom Trail, kind of
Yep.
right on Washington Street, right across from the Irish Famine Memorial, if you know where that
Yep.
is. And
Yep.
it's there used to be a number of streets there. It was a very kind of prominent set of not they weren't fancy stores, but there was a number. There were always full stores there, back pre-COVID. There was a Johnson
Yep.
Murphy shoe store there forever. There was a restaurant, and another one's kind of, it was always kind of stuff there. In several of those storefronts are still empty. So I think Washington Street in general is a challenge in the downtown core. So I'm wearing one hat, wearing my "Let's bring downtown back, let's bring Boston back" hat. I'm thrilled to see the store there because it's bright and cheery, and it adds something to what otherwise would be a row of empty storefronts. So for restoring Boston, it's very, very good. I'm also, if I'm wearing my Rider Oversight hat, I'm a little bit more mixed message. I'm glad it's a bright, brand new store. I'm glad that it's convenient. It's a pretty much equal distance between a red line, orange, right next to an orange line stop, but also really easy to orange line rider, a green line rider, a red line rider. Like you're at the blue line. You could get there from any subway line without having to make a jump. There are buses that get to the downtown core still, and I guess you're halfway between North and South Station. So from a location perspective, I think it's about as good as you're going to do. My only question would be financially. There's plenty of space in existing, or we have all these different T facilities. What are we paying for commercial real estate on the Freedom Trail in downtown Boston versus carving out space that the MBTA already owns in some other space, some other location?
Yeah, we could probably find that out. The one thing that I super liked about it is I think tourists would be more likely to, pick up a short-term Charlie card or ticket or whatever, because it's so easily found.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's just a question of, and the idea of the Charlie card store kind of came around later, but theoretically, like, should they be? Could they put it? This is revisionist history, but when they rebuilt the giant temple that is Government Center station, like could they put it in there? Should they be putting it on High Street? In the space that's already exists in High Street, an MBTA owned building that is fairly, not that far away from where they just bought commercial real estate to put something else. So I could think of easily off the top of my head a few areas to put it. And like I said, there's nothing wrong where it is. It's a good spot and in good visibility. It just maybe they got a deal on the real estate. We'll see. Something to look into.
Yeah, and it's for folks who haven't seen it, it's a real shotgun. It's not very wide at all, and but it's long so that the service agents are on one side as you face the front door, and the customers are on the other side, which is I think a good setup probably for both. I wouldn't think that the service agents would feel threatened there at all because of the visibility from the street. And then there's plexiglass in between them and the customers. I also think I might have mentioned last time, but when I went to the airport a month or so ago to go to Santiago, Chile, the route I was going to take was just not available. And so I was able, it's easy for me to switch over because I'm going in the same direction from Somerville. But when I came back, it was really crowded. And I think it's got to be tough for some newcomers to Boston to use the T from the airport with, half of it shut down, half of it not shut down, and the buses being super crowded. I mean, everybody was nice. The strong guys help people get the luggage down and stuff like that. But I think it could be a little challenging for people coming to town from Logan.
What was shut down?
Well, when I went, I can take two routes. I can either take Red Line or Blue Line and connect from them via the shuttle buses. And I guess it was the Red Line that was shut down.
Okay.
So I was going to take Red Line, but I just switched over.
Right.
I mean, I was coming from Green Line, so it was pretty easy to do the switch for me. But I hadn't looked it up in advance to see whether anything was closed, and it's just all the maintenance work that was happening, and I wasn't tracking it in detail.
Right.
It didn't matter to me because it's about the same time for me. Either way, you can get there.
Right.
I never take a cab. I mean, I just always use the T
Right.
and Massport service.
I hear you.
And I forgive me, but I don't know if I mentioned this. It's not. I won't dwell on it because it's mostly about airports. JFK was a zoo, unbelievably bad.
Hmm.
The pilots were having to bring in pilots, nobody, and bring in planes. Nobody knew who was doing what. There was about 6 square feet of floor space for everybody to sit with their luggage. Whereas going down through Miami worked way better, which didn't surprise me because it's a smaller airport. JFK was clean, and there's lots of stuff they're selling to you, but it was really, really difficult making the connection there.
Well, actually, I think we've got a tie-in there to what we were talking about. I mean, not directly, but I think it's worth calling out for Craig that we talked a lot about air travel, service delivery outages. That's this whole section starting here, Craig, down all the way to Logan Express. In
Yeah.
particular, I'm going to put this into the Zoom chat so that folks can see it later as well. That PDF is extraordinarily wide-ranging. I think I was calling it comprehensive last time. Let's actually pull that up right now just so you can get an idea of it. I'm not sharing the right screen so you can see that. So let me show you. Yeah, Craig, you might find this very interesting. It's the 2022 status and planning report, but updated May this year. And just to show like the table of contents, I mean, it's everything from the whole purpose of this to sustainability, EJ, public health conditions review, and then forecasting going into planning, regional transit, talking about some of the RTAs. Logan Express is also in here. So again, I don't want to go through this entire doc, but the link is there. Anything jump out at you, Craig, that you think is worth asking, or do you want to?
Yeah, if you want to go back to the other list, so thanks for mentioning that document, passing the link. That's something I should probably read on my own time. But if you guys had a meaningful conversation on it, it sounds like it's worth reading it. I was just curious. The ones that jumped out on my list were the three items. The discussion of the red line alternative service during work shutdowns, and
Yeah.
the discussion of the new contactless fare rollout, and then kind of the network planning for Everett and Chelsea. Those are the three that jumped out at me.
Oh, okay. You mean like for a summary?
Yeah.
Or recap? Oh yeah, sure thing. I don't think we went into much detail about the alternate service during the work shutdowns, other than that it was, and it is of course still being done by the third party vendor, not Peter
Yankee.
Pan. Thank you, thank you. Yes, yeah, Yankee. Um, Len, do you remember anything notable that Jonathan had called out about that? I don't think we did much deep diving into that, other than just to note that it is continuing, and it's at least designed to be as much of a service.
It's the reason why Brian bring it up is just to provide some perspective here. It's because I see it every day. It's interesting. So what they chose to do is rather than taking the buses from Quincy up to JFK to make the connection and back, they're running them from Quincy over to Ashmont and up. So it, it's an interesting. So they're crisscrossing Milton every day. An armada of Yankee buses is going from North Quincy Station through through Milton, over to Ash into Dorchester and up Dorchester Avenue into up to Ashmont. And I can't imagine, like, I mean, I don't think they had a lot of good options. I mean, because there's traffic if you go north out of Quincy and try to get up on 93 or something. It's a nightmare. But it's because of the direction they're going, it's already traffic logged, kind of going into Dorchester from Milton to begin with. That it's a little it's that little dotted line there from North Quincy to Ashmont. Is the interesting thing, part of the bus route, that they make it makes a hard left, and it cuts on which I mean, it's a double yellow road, but it's not like a 4-lane highway or anything. It's just so it gets stuck in traffic coming out of Quincy. There's a long traffic line to make a right onto Granite Ave to go into the city, and then it gets stuck in traffic again approaching coming over Milton Hill into Lower Mills. There's two big traffic areas there that are always nightmares already without these buses. So the buses have putting aside the traffic, it's contributed to those two Quincy residents and to folks trying to get through Milton over into Lower Mills. I can't imagine it's a particularly short ride for users. Like you're talking about two spots where you're probably snarled in 10, 15 minutes of traffic. So to do this route, if you were truly commuting in from Braintree, and if you're commuting in from Braintree, you should be on the commuter rail, right? Full stop. Like I would almost think, like, I'm just not even sure. Like this part of me that says, why are they even doing it? Like tell somebody in Wollaston to go one stop back to Quincy Center and get on the commuter rail. It's a million times faster than taking a 30-minute bus ride to Ashmont to then have to go through all the stops in Ashmont all the way up.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious to talk to the team. Like, I'd be curious to see what the feedback is from folks who are doing that every day, and whether or not have they been able to, as my suspicion, that during the day it's fine, right? Like it's in particular in the morning. That's the challenge. It's that 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock hour where you have those two traffic spots in particular. It's not an issue. It's not an issue right now. At least one of those areas is not a traffic issue right now. So it's not. It is just really bad starting from 7 o'clock to about 9:30 in those two spots, and I don't maybe 7:30 to 9:30. So maybe they just said, hey, that hour is what it is. Maybe they didn't realize it because they visited. They did that drive at 12 o'clock, and it's a 10-minute drive at 12 o'clock. It's a 30-minute drive at 8 o'clock in the morning. But I'm just curious to see what the feedback was. If they had to do it all over again, would they do the same thing?
And Craig, would your thinking be the same for people who are just commuting more locally between North Quincy and Braintree? Because they're not going downtown, and
I mean, that's a little bit. that's a little bit more straightforward because it's on the Ponset Ave kind of in other streets there kind of just there's a lot of north south. There's a few north south roads within. There's one or two north south roads within Quincy, so it's just kind of that route's. It's a natural fit to have that bus up and down. There's nothing you can do, right? The stations are closed. You run a bus on that north south line,
Right.
that mimics the rail line. I mean, there's the
Right.
Ponset Ave, from North Quincy down to Wollaston, almost to Quincy Center is just parallels the red line train tracks. They're right next to each other. So
Yeah.
there's no optionality there. It's the question of, was this fleet of buses cutting through Milton? And I'm trying to take off my Milton bias of like, I don't want the buses in Milton. It's not about that. It's about I've seen the traffic in those two spots in the morning, and it's ugly.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being in a bus inching along in car traffic in Milton going, where am I? Why are we doing this?
Yeah. Yeah.
They haven't looked overly full either, as the ones I've seen just walking by. Now that's very anecdotal, but I just maybe folks got the message and said it's not worth it. I'm going to take the commuter rail or take alternative modes.
Yeah.
I think another question to ask is when the water main break happened I think it was near Fields Corner, was that right? And then no, I'm sorry, near Ashmont. There was a water main break near Ashmont, and the entire Ashmont branch was out of service. I think it was like 36 hours, I think. I'm interested in knowing, were people being told to take the bus shuttle south to Braintree for commuter rail? Because that seems like the only thing that really would make sense in that case.
I think if you were there there's enough bus lines at Ashmont that you would go north. You would jump on. Ashmont's a major bus hub. So I think, and I can't think of a good one off the top of my head, but there are ones that go up Dorchester Avenue that will ultimately get you to, I don't know if they go JFK UMass, but there's a number of bus routes. There's a key bus route out of there that I think you would take.
But certainly during that time of the water main break, when the Ashmont line was out completely, I'm hoping that they weren't still doing that connector from North Quincy to Ashmont to then put people on a different bus. I mean, that certainly should have been an indicator to, hey, you want to go to Ashmont? No, there's no Ashmont service. Instead, go the other way and take commuter rail. I hope that was done, but we could find out.
So the decision to send people to Ashmont, as you might imagine, it was one that they considered very carefully. The person who makes these decisions talk to the MBTA advisory board, and so I don't know if at the time I don't think they had any feedback. I don't know what the feedback is at this point. But yeah, I mean they were pretty conclusive that this was just going to be better. I think in terms of reliability. I think that's primarily a reliability that they just and I know that it wasn't a case of them testing the traffic only when conditions were good. So yeah, and whether they would do it again, I think that's a question that is worth asking. When it's over. So yeah. So I hope I'm not seeming like I'm trying to defend them. I'm just explaining what was explained.
You are. That's okay.
To me. All right.
If I wanted to get all conspiratorial on you, I'd say it was the T giving Milton a big. I got your MBTA Communities Act right here. It's called 30 Yankee buses on your running through your residential streets. Have fun. Nobody would ever do that. That wouldn't be nice.
No. The conspiracies take so much more effort than you would imagine that they just don't happen. It's like you just don't have the effort to do it. You don't have generally don't have the ability to do it, but to figure it all out, it's like, oh my goodness, It's not worth
So
it.
to answer your question, just from Ashmont, the 18 goes from Ashmont up to Andrew, or you could jump on if you're trying to get into the city. There's a few different routes. The 23 goes from Ashmont up to, I think, through Nubian Square up to Roxbury. There's a few kind of big bus routes that kind of start there. Not, I don't know if folks would know that if you're a regular MBTA or subway rider, but back to that. So I'll move on the other two items on that list. Just the has anybody heard?
Oh.
Did you get any feedback on the how the new fare implementation is going? How contactless is going?
I forgot who brought this up, but apparently there are quite a few people who are trying to tap their Charlie cards on the new readers at the rear doors. And as I put in on my own notes here, I didn't know that. I thought that the implementation of the readers was going to be rear door boarding for both old and new. So that was a bit of a surprise to me.
I did not know that either. So you cannot tap a Charlie you can tap
Charlie
a
card.
new Charlie card.
The only thing that the new targets work with, if I understand it right, is credit cards and phones. So
I don't feel like that's been well advertised.
Wait, I saw you shake your head. Am I wrong? Unmute wig. Unmute wig.
I was shaking my head because we discussed this last time, and I don't use a phone. So, if people don't have, there's a lot of stuff now that you need a phone for, but I can't imagine it's legal under ADA that you have to have a phone.
Yeah, we were talking about that before. I don't know if it falls under a disability thing though. Hold on, let me pull up that article.
Well, sure it would, because people who can't use phones because of a disability would, whatever method they were using before,
Right.
would be gone.
Oh no,
Right,
they
but
still can board on the
you would
front,
say
though.
you can use a credit card, and then because a
I
credit
don't
card
have
is the same.
credit cards either.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still board at the front though. The front boarding is
Okay.
unchanged.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the answer.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I'm pulling up this article, and
Well, that's fine then.
as I believe they mention it in here.
Yep.
Yes. Tapping a smartphone or credit card is available. Gated subway stations and Green Line at Event Trolley. Right. So it's
Yeah.
a smartphone or credit card. And if I follow this link, it's like going to take me to improving the way that yes. So if your card has, right. And if you have a phone, watch, great. Yes. But you can still set up a regular old Charlie card. But as it shows, yes, you can see in this image here, here's somebody using their watch on the new target and using a credit card on the new target. But tapping with your Charlie card, there we go. Yeah. So Charlie card is not for the new things. And if a Charlie reader and Charlie card are incompatible, that's a branding and confusing description right there. Yeah, but a Charlie card. Yeah, but you can't use your Charlie card on the Charlie reader.
Yeah. That is bad. Like
I mean, I think that they have done a good, from what I've seen, and I've seen it firsthand. I believe that the symbology, I should have taken my own picture the last time I was in town. I believe the symbology is still very, very good because on the new readers, there's no old Charlie logo. It's all artwork, basically. Stylistically, it's all new. And you can't really see it behind the step 3 here, but behind the hand, they've
Yeah.
added new labels to the old style Charlie card targets, which identifies that visually as the old style. So, I mean, confusing by terminology, yeah. Confusing by actual implementation, like when you look at it visually, I didn't think so when I was just in town last week.
Yeah, but there's another thing. You guys are experts, and people who come into town for 3 days, it's going to take them longer to catch on.
Yeah, well, I
The
mean,
number of red jacket folks in the stations is remaining constant, or maybe even higher. I mean, I hadn't been in town for quite a while, but I mean, there were two
Yeah,
folks, red jacket folks, in every station that I visited. But go ahead, Len. I cut
yeah,
you off. Sorry about that.
no, I was just gonna say, I mean, whenever you go someplace new, I mean, it's always a learning curve. It's just a matter of like
yeah,
how steep is the curve. I mean,
yeah.
and I mean, I actually don't mind
True.
steep, because this generally means it's fast. As long as the system is kind of consistent, then you're steep. You have your steep curve, and then you're set. And it's when it's not consistent that the curve isn't so
Yeah,
steep, and it takes a long time to get it. Um, um, yeah, I mean, what I am not finding is whether if you are registered, like you use a Google Wallet or an Apple Wallet, whatever, whether there's a limit to what you pay and then it becomes a pass. And it doesn't seem like it's the case with this technology, and that is something that we were hoping for, is that you wouldn't have to get a pass. It would track how much you are paying, and then once you reach the amount of money that you would pay for a pass, then
yeah,
you would, so. But I guess that's coming, but it's not here,
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be a feature that gets enabled later. I mean, I remember hearing about that too, and I think that is going to be just simply later on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, so I don't remember. I
And,
mean, I remember
and,
talking about it, but I don't remember if it's like, oh, we're going to do this. And certainly if they said they were going to do it, I didn't get a time frame on it. Craig,
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm done. I'm done. I was just acknowledging that I'm
Um,
done. But
the Yeah, it's a fine line because I understand the need to roll things out, right? Like like that's how modern technology works today. Is that you don't get all your bells and whistles on day one. There's phases of things to release. Um, I guess my question is going back to the cards themselves. It they will work with Charlie cards eventually when the new phase 2 Charlie cards are rolled out in 2025. And so the question I have is what, like, we're living in a limbo here for 6 months where the old cards do not work with the new readers, where a Charlie card will not work with a Charlie reader.
yeah,
Where would we have been better off waiting 6 months, rolling them both out at the same time to avoid this period of confusion? Because because now what you're telling people is you have a Charlie reader, a Charlie card. Charlie cards don't work with Charlie readers, but they will. And eventually, when you get a new Charlie card. But for right, like we're just in this awful middle ground, and
yeah,
you have to educate everybody. They don't work right now, and then you're gonna have to turn around and re-educate them. They do work, and it's just like, was it really worth rolling out the system 6 months early just to if Charlie cards are truly coming in 20? I guess it depends when in 2025, but part of me says, well, just do it all at once. Wait for the new cards and just rip and say,
yeah,
whole new system. You need you to do this. You need one of three things: a cell phone, a cell phone, a credit card, or a Charlie card.
yeah,
Now what you have to tell people is, if you have a Charlie card, be careful which reader you use. And you're asking somebody to know, like, this is the new one versus the old one. So this is where I'm agreeing with you a little bit, that this isn't just about learning a new system. We're in this awful interim system
Yeah.
If you have a Charlie card, you have to know whether it's an old or a new one, and then you have to know the difference between an old and a new reader, and then understand that when I got an X on the one reader, that meant if I went to the wrong reader, I went to a new reader, not an old reader. I have to go over and find an old reader, and the new readers are square, and the old readers are circle, and it's a why not just wait? I don't know.
Yeah, and you guys are all really smart and you pay attention to this stuff. Um, I tend to walk around thinking about other stuff, so that's part of my problem. But I also, with issues like this, I'm always thinking about the breadth of society and the bell curves in society. Um, not everybody is as quick as everybody else, and not everybody has as many assets as everybody else. And I'm sure that the designers who are experienced think about that bell curve when they design these things. But I find that, especially with all of the screens in modern life, computer screens being probably the best example, and all the things that feed into them, but phones are probably the same way. There's an awful lot of optimization from the producer's point of view in some of these things, and that makes it really hard for people who don't want to spend that degree of concentration syncing up with all of this stuff. I mean, it's worse on computers. When you're doing searches for stuff, and the variety of approaches and programs used to put things in front of your face on computers. But I think it's a general issue in this technological age. How many people really can figure most of this stuff out who are users? And do some people struggle a lot more than others to figure it out and keep up to date? I mean, you guys are all so quick, but not everybody, trying to use the system is as quick as you are,
Well,
or is.
I will
Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Greg. No, go ahead, Stefan.
Okay, I just wanted to say, I mean, every page where I've seen news or announcements or what's happening with the new system, they're right up front and center with the contact plus customer service form, particularly about accidental taps, issues with fare payments. So, I mean, at least it looks like they're getting the message out, how to deal,
Yeah,
what to do.
I think right, but I mean, how many people are on MBTA.com on a regular basis, right? I think most people probably found out about this. They could have been gone for a couple of weeks of the summer. They come back, they show up to work on, or they try to get it into work on September 1st. They go and try to tap their card, and big red X, and you're like, well, the card worked last week, like that, or
And at the same time, my experience at the Charlie Card store was the agent was phenomenal. The agent was able uh, to intersect my state of mind perfectly well. He was really good. So
And I gotta show it again. This is actually a better graphic. I mean, the iconography or the graphic application of the old Charlie ticket um, stuck onto the old reader, that makes a huge difference. I mean, when I got there last week, there was just no question in my head. It was like, oh, right, new, old. I've got one that looks like that. Bing. I mean, I wasn't even tempted to hit the new one.
yeah, but Stefan, what if you're a young mother with three kids coming with you through the station between the ages of 4 and 7?
Well,
Well, obviously the kids are going to be. No, I have no funny answer to that. But no, your point is valid, Wig. Your point is valid.
no, but Rick, I mean, if you made the mistake once, I mean, then you realize, okay, I made that mistake, and you tap the other thing. I guess your question is, I mean, if the first time experiencing the system and you tap it and you're flustered, I mean, what do you do? Well, first you hope that there is a red shirt there. If not, then if you're at a station where there are other people around, you'll see how they're interfacing and get it. It's just we learn pretty quickly. I tend not to
Yeah, but
underestimate the intelligence of my fellow human being. And yes, there is initial frustrations, but generally you learn from that. Because I remember I hit put the Charlie card on the new reader once and it didn't work, and then I looked, it's like, okay, it goes bottom. If I'm really tired or hungry and not thinking, I'll do it again. It's like, okay, I screwed up, and just hit the bottom and go. Yeah, that's
yeah,
it.
I think I think it's more about a why not, why were the new Charlie cards not ready for the same time? So when you have that interaction with the red shirt person, they could say, "Oh, hey, we have brand new Charlie cards that work with the new readers for your future. Here, let me walk over to this machine. I'll help you swap. I'll help you change your value over from card A to card B, so you're ready to rock and roll." Instead, it's like, well, make sure you use the old ones for now, and then eventually you're going to have to come back and you're going to have to go to downtown crossing to a brand new customer service center so they can transfer your $20 value over if you don't want to lose that $20 value. It's just not like it. I don't know. You're not wrong, Len. The folks adapt, but I also feel there's also, I think, a little bit of a self-inflicted error of rushing the rollout without having the cards to back them.
Well, we don't know why. They're coming out in phases like this. It could be that the stock of new Charlie cards has been delayed. And so now do you delay rolling out? This technology allows that people to pay by credit card. In order to match up with that, I don't know. It could be that was the original plan. That you just want to do it in
In
phases
future
because.
meetings, Len, I need the Len apologize for the
No,
T.
no,
I'll
no,
meet
no.
her.
Well, yeah. Well,
I will look. I will keep
I'll
looking out
give
for the
multiple.
riders. You keep looking out for the T, and we can
I'm just
go
giving
from
you
there.
a range of possibilities, Craig. So
That are
it could
always
be. What was
favorable
that?
towards the T.
What was that? No,
That
there
are
was the other
always
one.
favorable towards the T.
The second one was pretty much to repeat what you had said, Craig, and that is that they intentionally rolled it out in phases. And we don't know why. And so when you don't know, you just say you don't know, and you may consider that being defensive of the T, but it's really just the way I, as a scientist, tend to approach things. When I don't know, I don't know. I can come up with reasons, but instead of feeling that these reasons are right, and getting all perturbed about it, I just go, I don't know, and I speculate, but acknowledge that it's speculation.
I need to jump in because
Sure, but I think as a science, we don't know why. I'm not. There may be a perfectly valid reason why, but I'm more interested in what the valid rider experience is in their valid. The rider experience may be a bad one, and that's what I'm trying to figure out how we avoid that in the future.
All
So
right.
it's about trying to get learning.
Well, you certainly
I'm
didn't
not
phrase it that.
saying
You didn't
I'm not
phrase it that
questioning
way.
that they made a good or bad. I'm not questioning
Oh,
whether
you
they
were.
have
Yes, you
reasons
were.
or
Don't
not.
backtrack.
I'm questioning, are they taking learnings? Are they getting rider feedback? And
Sure.
are they going to change tactics moving forward?
Okay, sure.
I need to jump in because I
Sure.
need to disappear in a couple of minutes. But before I go, I want to put one link into the Zoom chat that I think, Craig, you would like to see, maybe with a bit of guidance from Len on that one about the funding history. But before I go, though, I want to just call out one thing that we did discuss, which was in detail about how the plan at Riverside has changed quite a bit now that there's no, well, hardly any demand for biotech industry, technical industry startups out at that location. And so it's going to be from over 1,000 parking spaces down to just a proposed 650, and some even are going to be shared with the residential garage. So I'm going to put this PDF link into the Zoom chat as well. I don't think this issue of Riverside really needs any additional discussion. It's more just informational for you, Craig, or for other folks watching. I think we hashed it out pretty well, and it's just the sign of the times. It's what
Yeah.
what the real estate market is undergoing, and the MBTA is adapting to that with their property plans. But
I wouldn't say I wouldn't give credit to the MBTA, right? Their lease, like the MBTA didn't say this is how the developer can make more money. The developer said this is how I can make more money
oh yeah, yeah. But
with
there,
this. So don't,
but there is an MBTA role in there as far as coordinating with the rights for MBTA customers to use
right.
parking.
I would say coordination, but I wouldn't
Yeah,
overtake credit on the MBTA side. I would say
that's fair.
I would say the MBTA is a beneficiary of a changing market. I think it's better that that space is used for more residential because they're more likely to take it from there into the city than it would be for lab space. Because if it was lab space, it ultimately would have ended up being Metro West car drivers
Yeah.
parking there to go to go to their lab. So I think in the end, this is a much better thing from a use from a things that are proximity. I like the idea of things that are especially at the end of a line, right? It'd be different if we're talking something along the line, having office space there. But if you're talking about an office building next to a highway that happens to be on that happens to have a connector to the MBTA, you're not going to have a whole lot of reverse commuters coming out to take it. It would have been mainly just people sucking up that parking lot to go to their office building. So I'm glad it's more residential in this particular case.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. So I'm going to disconnect. I'm going to leave you, gents, to do other things. We covered pretty much all of the notes from the subcommittee. Like I said, I think it's worth doing a quick overview of that second to last PDF link that I put in there, just because the funding history is very illuminating. But with that, sorry to have to leave a little early, but Len, you're the host, so you can take over.
Okay. All right. Well, take care and happy
Thank you very
anniversary.
much.
All right.
Thank you again.
All right, folks. Whatever you want to talk about.
The only other item I had is the did anybody see the news about the bus lane on Summer Street in South Boston by the convention center? Actually, it's going to be removed.
No, I did not see that.
Yeah, it's interesting. That bus lane was paint only, so it was not a like a full build out, not a separated bike bus lane, but it was a paint only.
Right.
In a it actually in their year it was live for a year, maybe 2 years. They actually found that the ride times increased
Interesting.
with the bus. That red lane ended up getting blocked more often than not by cars parking on it or something else.
I see.
And it actually ended up making they had enough data on it to show it was a minor. It's not like it dramatically got longer, but it essentially was flat to slightly higher transit times, and so they're going to remove it. I think there's still a strong push to put something there because it's a natural corridor to do so to go. But I think so. I guess I'd make two public comments on it. One, I applaud the T for experimenting and then willing to kind of correct where a mistake was made. To your point of being scientists, Len, I think, you got to try new things, but you also have to not be stubborn about them when they're not working, and that they use an empirical approach with data to say, hey, this isn't working, and they're going to walk it back. I think that's fantastic. Two, I think I've had this position for a very long time, having just worked downtown for many years and seen red painted lanes on numerous streets over the years. The dedicated bus lanes that are protected seem to work. The ones that are just red paint get dirty and covered in snow, and cabbies ignore them, and it just doesn't work. I finally have a study that with data proves that out. But I think I've just seen enough that they're difficult to maintain. People don't naturally understand what they are, and too many people in this town, double park, and sometimes they're very legitimate double parking reasons. It's a truck making an early morning delivery or something like that. That the paint only lanes don't work.
Yeah.
Put another way, we cannot treat all bus lanes equal. That not all bus lanes, dedicated bus lanes, are the same, and not all are going to have the same efficacy. And I think these these dedicated center lane bus lanes, where you're making a true investment in separating them and putting center platforms, are a very different beast than the we're going to paint a lane and hope people obey the paint, because traditionally they're not enforced by local. They're not enforced, and when they're not enforced, they don't work, and the paint rubs off quickly. So I think I hate to say it, but this is a little bit of a case of you get what you pay for. That a quick coat of paint isn't a magic quick solution to make rapid transit. To do it correctly, unfortunately, involves some level of investment, whether that's a dedicated bus lane or a further expansion of light rail. I think I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
I
Go ahead.
I-
Wait, please.
I also find that there's not only a lot more Ubers, but there's civilians acting like they're Ubers. They like park in a travel lane and run into a restaurant to pick stuff up much more often than 5 or 10 years ago. I especially notice it on places like Mass Ave between Harvard and Porter. Um, it's
When they're Uber Eats, they're probably Uber Eats.
No, some of these people are civilians, and some of them are actually blocking driveways. They didn't even notice there was a driveway there, and
But they're running into restaurants to get food, right?
for themselves, yeah.
Well, it might be Uber Eats, though. I mean, do you know it's for themselves, or do you know if they're
Well, I
like
think most
delivering?
Ubers are marked, no?
Oh, okay. I mean, even though Uber Eats, I don't know. So if you know that they're marked and they're not being marked, then okay, I defer to
Yeah, and this is
your
between,
observation.
this is not
Yeah.
in the bustle of Harvard Square or
Right.
Central Square. This is between Harvard and Porter.
Right.
It just seems like a culture change to me. It seems like we're moving more toward, well, New York City, of course, was mostly cabs 40 years ago and not private autos. So New York City was always a lot different from the other
Right.
cities in the country, but it's interesting. I mean, it's not the end of the world. If there's, it's not an ambulance or fire engine issue. It's
Right.
not the end of the world that, a civilian is held up by 3 minutes or 5 minutes. Not that big a deal.
Well, it causes congestion. I mean, as you know, I mean,
Yeah, it
it's
does.
hard to uncongest once you cause congestion, and
Yeah, that's true.
a minor obstruction, can have a pretty long ripple effect. I mean,
Yeah.
so it is a
Yeah.
big deal from that respect. And I wasn't trying to minimize the impact if it was Uber Eats. It was more that I wasn't sure how much of it was just people who weren't working, for lack of a better phrase, versus people who were just
Yeah,
conveniently picking up food.
my local experience, and it's not determinative. The people who professionally drive, they tend to have marks. They tend to have lights, or their vehicles denote that that's what they're doing.
Right.
And in that case, I'm less worried that they're going to be there for 10 minutes or whatever, because they're on the clock too, and they're trying to be efficient. But
Yeah.
it's just
So,
interesting to me.
So my question about the bus lane, though, in I guess the waterfront area, or the convention center. So do you know from the article, Craig, that they said that it was not enforced well? That was a problem with it?
That's a good question. I'll see if I can find the article.
I suspect.
That's a little bit of me editorializing, having seen the Neyland Street
Yeah.
stretch for a while, but I do believe they talked to enforcement as well.
I suspect that's the case. And so I just wanted to see if they had indicated that was the case. Okay, well, I can look it up myself. So yeah, yeah, it's the enforcement issue, and sometimes I think it's probably two levels. I mean, one is that it's not just not being enforced, and then second is that the penalty just isn't high enough, mean to change the behavior. You know, um, but yeah, I'm certainly in favor of more centerline bus lanes. And I don't know if
Yeah,
yeah.
and I where that one's interesting to me is I think I where we're gonna have to solve there eventually. They're building out that was what was the power plant way at the end of South Boston into a
Yeah.
massive development.
Yeah.
Um, and we've kicked the can down the road on kind of like the what's the solution there for ultimately for transit. And we've gone around over the last 15 years. Everything from these bus lane, the painted bus lanes to a gondola
Right.
had been floated. I, it's one of the few. It's one of the areas in the city I worry about that. Like, all right, what's next? If you tried the bus
Yeah.
lanes, they didn't work. You didn't want the fancy gondola. Like, what are we actually going to do to solve that problem? And knowing that these things take a decade to do, I'm worried that we're starting from scratch again on
Yeah.
this. And
I,
I ultimately I me, I tend to be Captain Light Rail here. I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
I'd love to see I don't want just a dedicated bus lane up the middle. I'd love to see a modern floor entry electric
Yeah.
trolley going up and down Summer Street personally, but
Well, without the big dig overruns, I think that the Silver Mine line might have been a red line diversion instead. You you could have run the red line down and then hooked back up in South Boston, and that would have carried a huge volume. Instead, we got the Silver Line and these massive stations like McCourt Station. And I don't mind the Silver Line, but it it just seems like the money went to the wrong place.
for the
well,
sake of brevity, yeah, I think my opinions in this forum on the Silver Line in those stations have been shared many times. It's
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really a matter of whether the center line bus lanes would be you know a good alternative for Summer Street, in the near term. We could go for the rail, but most likely get that center line bus lanes
Yeah.
sooner, and they'll probably end up, if they end up with a lot of people using transit as opposed to bikes or walking, then that will
Yeah.
probably be the thing that we do, and hopefully we can learn some things,
Yeah,
from
but
projects.
yeah, I guess I just I understand the segregated bus lanes in other parts of the city where you're not in your downtown core. I think you have a unique opportunity with the size and scale of what's being invested in. It's still in that South Boston area to do it to say we're not going to let's not do this the cheap way. Let's do it the right way, even though it takes longer and build for the long term. And I see.
Well, the other problem I think they have is that it takes time to go down into the stations and back up again on the Silver Line, the big stations in South Boston. And when you have a center line on a street, a center line dedicated busway or light rail, and I like light rail too. Um, you just cross halfway across the street and you hop on. Like I always would take the green line when I was asked to lecture at Harvard School of Public Health. I love that. It's very it's small. It doesn't take up much room. You can see where you are. Um, that makes a lot of sense to me. I did want to mention something different. Um, not sure it's appropriate here, but I was in Santiago, Chile for an international conference, and it's a big city. I don't know, 3 million people, something like that. Very modern transit system, but it got me thinking. 3 million people is basically the Boston metro area, and Santiago's transit for 3 million people works super well in part because everything is the same. All the crosswalk lights are the same. The conventions are are the same on how the buses work or the subway. And for that whole 3 million people. And here we've got individual cities, and I'll use Somerville as an example, using their I don't want to call it prejudice, but their desire for one kind of bus bump out and street network, and another city or town in our metro area may choose another way. And I think it's less efficient than having a whole metro area that decides on a system that really works, and then everybody in the area understands it, whether they're in their town or city or not.
I mean, what is it? So the crosswalks. My understanding, Wig, is that there is a standard, for like crosswalks and things. It's enforced by MassDOT, and then there's this municipal uniform code of traffic devices, which I think is a federal, code, so
Well,
there's some standardization. And so I'm wondering what it is that you're saying, really is
well,
variable.
maybe it was just how bright, evident, and clear this stuff was
Uh,
compared to see what I see around here. I mean, it was just
Now maintenance can change, can be there can be
the,
variations in
the
maintenance.
lights were so clear,
Yeah,
every time of day, when
right.
the walk light came on and everything like that, they were just crystal clear. It took, I can be absent-minded when I'm thinking about
Yeah,
other stuff. It
right.
was just so easy for me.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that you have here, is that so even though there may be a standard, the standards change, and as they change, you have old equipment still in place. So
Yeah,
it's not like the standard changed and you just go, oh, you need to swap
yeah,
everything out right now. It's more like, well, when that becomes non-functional, you replace it with something, that
yeah,
is at the current standard. So you end up with some, variation that way. But I do know that there are
yeah.
standards for just about everything that happens on the roads because we just encounter them almost all the time.
No,
You know,
that's a really good point. It
uh,
could be that different places just have different vintages, um, and that Santiago, implemented everything kind of at more or less at once. They made their decisions more or less at once.
or
And,
or
and because I always stay away from where these conferences are and travel through the
right,
city.
right. Or they mandate the switch out, and so it could be that they say we change the standards and we change everything at once. And it just
Yeah,
requires me that to be a priority, which is always a matter of how are you going to spend the funds, that you have.
yeah,
You know, how easily can you get those funds, and how do you prioritize the ways
yeah,
you spend them? You
yep,
know, and
yep.
yeah. Um, so anything else?
No,
All right. So I reviewed.
Nothing on my end.
Yeah. So one interesting thing from one of the decks I reviewed today, it had to deal with the safety, stuff that we've been doing, since we had all those issues, a few years ago, that ended up causing the speed restrictions. There's a little note in one saying that we have kind of paused on some of the capital projects as we reevaluate, which I think is a nod to the fiscal situation, in which we find ourselves. That said, the the fiscal problem is on the operating side. It's not on the capital side, and so that kind of makes me think that maybe my assumption, is wrong, but it was notable that they said that they're just going to pause a little bit on some of the capital stuff. I mean, as they reassess. I mean, so I guess it's a matter of staying tuned, and
Yeah.
I will say the decks that I looked at with respect to the safety stuff were a little less detailed than I'm used to seeing, but it also seems like they've been making a lot of progress. I mean, so as you looked at the percent completion, there's a lot that, as they call them, they have been closed, so
Yeah.
there's that, and the only other thing I'll add is kind of along the lines of new business is that the MBTA advisory board, I was at one of their meetings today, an executive committee meeting today, which is a pretty big committee. We had a presentation, and I can't say much in detail about the survey that was done because they just said you need to keep that confidential for now. But I will say that the MBTA advisory board is making a big push, to make sure the legislature knows about the issues, the serious financial issues, that the MBTA has. And I guess in the process of reaching out, they are surprised at the extent to which legislators don't know, the serious situation in which the T finds itself. So, so I just figured I'd let you all know that that's kind of what's going on with
Yeah.
the advisory board. That's Brian Kane, and so they're making a big push. I think there has been some issue with the transportation finance task force and I guess the enthusiasm that people had for it initially, isn't as great, now. Meaning, I think they initially thought that it would really be able to come up with some really good solutions for solving the funding issue for transportation and not just transit. I've seen a few things out of MAPC, but you're just talking like a couple $100 million, which isn't a whole lot of money. For the transportation system, it be something notable for transit. The MBTA. But if you're talking about the whole transportation network, it's not a whole lot. But I guess something's better than nothing. So
One footnote that I wanted to bring to everybody's attention. You probably have realized this, but Rich Davey now has pretty much run every part of our transportation system, right? He was head of the T, he was secretary, and now he's head of Massport. And that may prove valuable or interesting in the longer run, given how big Massport's, especially Logan, but the port too, how big their footprint is here.
And he started off at the R&V, right? Or did he start off at the R&V or
perhaps?
I think he might have started off at the R&V and then went to secretary and then to general manager of the T because it was like a step down. But he's like, no, I really want to, or maybe it was at Keolis. I think he was at Keolis, right?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong about that. So I didn't. When did he go to Massport? I missed that.
Just this. He probably started his job just a few weeks ago. It was announced maybe two months ago. It was announced.
Okay, nice. I liked Rich. I liked him a lot.
Well, he's pretty calm.
Yeah.
He's pretty calm in discourse.
Yeah. I thought he was very good. And a lot of times when GMs are kicked to the curb, they've done so in a disrespectful way. It's like, oh, they were not good, or there's something wrong about, but when they come in, it's like all those virtues, all those things that are now faults, were considered virtues beforehand, and so it's like, so it's like, oh, all right, but in this case with Eng, I'm happy that people are happy with them. That's good, but he came in at a time when we were really forced to put a lot of money into the system, and we had a lot of money from the feds, and so it was a good time, for us to have the issue that we had because at least we now had the money to spend, and now we've hired a lot of people. And now the challenge is going to be to hang on to them, And so
Yeah.
anyways, so Jacob, anything you want to say before we part company?
Yeah, we were close to wrapping up. So whatever Jacob you have for an agenda item, it's top of the list, and then we'll wrap.
All right. Well, I know Jacob, so I can find out from him what he wanted to say. So I can let you all go. I'll hang around and see if Jacob had anything he wanted to add, and then report it out at the next meeting, unless Jacob attends that one too.
Well, thank you guys. I'm so impressed by the three of you. You know how much attention you pay to this stuff.
Well,
Glenn's the one who really pays attention. He's the one who's on top of it all. He's reading the decks. He's doing the hard work.
Oh, we all do, you know.
Well,
So Stefan reads.
Yeah, Stefan reads a lot of stuff too, and you're pretty sharp, Craig. And
yeah, you're very sharp, you know. So you you temper things.
I should drop now. I'm never gonna get a better compliment from mine.
Oh gosh, I have a lot of respect for you. We disagree, but I have a lot of respect for you, you know. So there you go, you know. So there, you know.
And look at that. And we lost our friend here, so now it's just the three of us again. So we can't wrap. I don't feel.
Yeah, we should go while the going's good.
Exactly.
All right, take care.
See you guys.
Bye bye.
Have a good night.